73% of homeowners regret their home purchase in 2024. Yeah, here we go again. A recent survey was done by the insurance provider Hippo, and yes, they said 73% of homeowners regret their purchase. So let's break this survey down. And of course, I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you my advice. So if you're thinking about buying a house this year or in the coming years, hopefully you'll get some value out of this and it'll help you avoid regretting your home purchase. Let's get into it. I've been talking about this a lot for the past 5 years about people regretting their home purchase. This housing market has, as you know, been absolutely insane. So, of course, people are going to have some regrets because with all the bidding wars, the competition, people are feeling pressured to make these home purchases. So I saw this survey show up and I thought, oh God, here we go again. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because a lot of markets in this country, yeah, it's still a strong seller's market, Jersey included. You hear me talk about that. And people are still having regrets. So let's break down the rest of the numbers that they had in this survey. So not only did 73% of homeowners regret their purchase, 42% regret compromising on features that they really wanted in their home. 34% regret paying a mortgage rate higher than they were comfortable with. 29% said that they are facing more issues and repairs than they expected. 46% of homeowners spent $5,000 on unexpected repairs in 2024. And 55% of homeowners are planning on doing their own DIY projects in 2025 because it's too darn expensive to hire a contractor. So let's break all of this down. Let's dive into each one. Now, the first one, the 42% people regretting compromising on features in their home. I get this a lot. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. No home is going to be perfect. Okay. There are some that found their perfect home, checks all the boxes. Good for you. But for the most part, you are going to be making some compromises and some sacrifices on certain features in the home. Here's an example. I just helped a young couple last fall purchase their first home, and they really wanted a garage, but the house that they ended up buying didn't have one. And I know they were struggling with that. But the most important factor to them was the town. They had been looking for years to buy a home in the town that they purchased this home in. And that was super important to them. So they looked at this home as their stepping stone into this town. So they've said, okay, you know what? If we want to put a one-car garage on the property, there is space for it. We could eventually do that. It would add value to the home. But the key thing is they got into that town. They wanted to have their children be in that school district. And they figured, you know what? We'll live in here for 5-7 years, build some equity, and then we'll trade up. We'll buy another house in this town. Another example, my own example, you've heard me talk about it. The house I'm living in right now, I hated my kitchen. I did. Oh my God. Coming from my first house where we renovated the kitchen, I loved my kitchen. And then coming here, that was hard. That was really hard for me. But I was all about the town and the neighborhood. That was very important to me. So I made a compromise on the kitchen. Now, I have updated it somewhat. We never did a complete renovation on it because honestly, the kitchen's fine. We can live with it. I don't need to do anything major to it. It's definitely not one of the modern kitchens you see today with like the quartz countertops. I don't have that, but I don't care. I made some modifications to it where I do like it now. But the key thing is that I still love my neighborhood. I love the town I'm living in. So if you find yourself that you're regretting that you don't have the kitchen that you want, you don't have the master bedroom with the master bath in there, you can plan to add those things if you want. Okay. But if you can't, right? If the house does not allow you to put that master bathroom in, or you don't have enough property to add a garage, look at the other positives of the home. What made you buy the home? What are the positives that made you want to live there? Okay, was it the neighborhood? Is it the town? If that's what's important to you, that's what you need to focus on. You need to focus on those positives and enjoy those things about the home, all right? Because it's not always about the physical home. It's also, again, the town, the location, the neighborhood. Focus on those. And over time, if you can change these things, if there's, you want to change your kitchen, you can. You don't have to keep it that way forever. You can change it. Trust me. And I tell my clients all the time, if things need to be updated, I always say, if the house is clean, it's functional, it's not falling apart, it's not a gut job, you can always change it down the road. So Do with that what you will. Now let's talk about the people who regret paying a higher mortgage rate than they're comfortable with. This issue has been coming up ever since the rate started increasing during 2022. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Shop out your mortgage rates. Do not feel pressured that you have to commit to working with that lender. If you chose a certain bank because you had your bank accounts with them for many years and you feel obligated that you have to work with them, you don't have to. Shop out the rates. Talk to different banks, talk to different lenders to see if there's a lower rate out there. Research purchasing discount points. You can do that and see if it's worth it to do that, to buy a discount point to lower the mortgage payment. And here's another piece of advice I will tell you. You need to be comfortable with that mortgage payment. So you need to talk to your lender and run the numbers. See how much that mortgage payment is going to be if you put 10% down, if you put 20% down, or if you put 25, 30% down. See how that mortgage payment is going to be and make sure you are comfortable with it. Analyze that number sideways, upside down, every which way to make sure it's going to work. Because if you're not comfortable with that payment and yet you move ahead and you buy that house with that mortgage payment, you will be house poor and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So do your homework, do your due diligence, make sure you're comfortable with that payment, and talk to multiple lenders to see what other interest rates are out there. Now let's break down the 29% who said they're facing more repairs and issues with the home than they expected. Now, I'm assuming that these people waived their home inspection. I'm assuming this, and we know what happens when you assume. But this is something that's been going on for the last 5 years because of the competition. People were waiving home inspections to get their home. And I'm still hearing about this to this day. To this day. On one of my own listings right now, the buyer was doing their home inspection just for their knowledge only. They only wanted to make sure there was no underground oil tank. That would have been a deal breaker. But other than that, the home inspection was for his own knowledge only. And that's fine. You can do that. But if an issue comes up that's going to be potentially a major problem, do not be afraid to walk away from the house. I know you want the house, but don't be afraid to walk away from it. It's not worth it. I mean, perfect example right here. These people that have these unexpected repairs they weren't aware of. So now they're stuck. Now they're shelling out all this money to make these repairs. Do not waive the inspection. Stop doing that. Please do not waive your inspection. And if you have to, you just want to be competitive, you can totally do an inspection for your knowledge only. But if you see there's a potential problem, the inspector's pointing something out that could be a major expense, don't be afraid to walk away from it. So let's talk about how 46% of homeowners spent $5,000 of unexpected repairs. Okay, you know what I'm going to say about this one. I've been saying this a lot. You need to have an emergency fund saved before you even go look for a house. I know you're screaming at me right now, screaming at your TV because you're trying to save for your down payment and your closing costs. Now I'm telling you, you have to save 3 to 6 months of your income as an emergency fund if things go wrong in the house. Listen, I get it. I'd be mad at me right now too, but trust me on this one. You don't want to be in that situation. Now, here's the example right here. People spent $5,000 in unexpected repairs. Another thing I read in this survey is that they said experts actually recommend that people save 1% of the home value for preventative maintenance. So if you spend $400,000 in your house, you should set aside $4,000 for annual preventative maintenance. This is in addition to your home emergency fund. So I know now you're really going to be mad at me, but you have to do these preventative measures on your home to prevent future problems, like big costly problems from happening. So $4,000 for a $400,000 house, I think that's more than enough to cover you. So what are some annual preventative things you need to do? I mean, you need to get your furnace serviced every year. I would have your central air serviced every year, because if you don't, things can break down. Their problems could arise. And do you know how much it costs to replace a central AC unit? It ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. We replaced one several years ago and it cost us about $9,000. Now, here's another example of why you need to have an emergency fund. This is my own personal story. Now, earlier in January, we had really cold weather, high winds, and our carbon monoxide detector went off in the basement. Now, come to find out, the fire department came, we had a guy from the gas company show up, and it was determined that our chimney had an issue. So there was a downdraft coming from the top of the chimney that was blowing into the furnace, therefore blowing out carbon monoxide. So we had a chimney guy come in, and we needed a new liner to the tune of $3,800. Yes. And we were in a mad rush to get it done because the gas company gave us a citation because we had carbon monoxide entering the home. We had to shut the heat off in order to have that citation removed and preventing our gas to get shut off by the gas company. We had to make that repair in 2 weeks. But literally, it was like, I think -2 degrees when that happened with the wind chill. So we were under the gun to get that repaired, to get our heat back on, and also get the gas company back out to inspect it and take that citation off of our account. So there's an example right there, $3,800 to fix our chimney. But thank God we had the money. We had it saved, and there you go. Now, I will say I kind of regret we didn't do maintenance on that chimney every year because we could have caught that sooner. So here we are shelling out $3,800 to replace the liner. So yeah, let's talk about the 55% of homeowners that are going to be doing DIY projects in 2025. I commend you. I think it's awesome. But here's some advice. Now, many of you are going to go to the YouTube. You're going to be looking up videos on how to repair a toilet, how to, change flooring, or how to put tile on your backsplash, things like that. And I commend you for that. I think that's awesome. But take my advice. If you find yourself in the middle of the project and it's not going as well as you thought it was going to be, or you had hoped it would go, do not be afraid to call in a professional at that point. I know you're trying to save money, and I appreciate that. Don't be afraid to call in a professional if you find yourself stuck and it's not working out, because if you don't have it done correctly, it's going to lead to much bigger problems that will then cost you a lot more money. Trust me on that one. Do not be afraid to call the professional in, but hey, go for it. Watch the videos or learn from somebody how to do something. And I have friends that have done it, that done work on their own homes, and I think it's amazing. But just be careful about that, and don't be afraid to bring in the professional. Another number that jumped out at me on this survey was that 59% of these people surveyed, they plan on moving in 2025. They want to sell their homes. And I'm talking to you guys who are thinking about that right now. And I'm hearing this. I've heard from people like, we got to get out of here. This is getting too expensive. What the heck were you thinking? It's going to cost you money to sell the house. Okay. You got to think about that. If you're going to hire a real estate agent, you're going to be paying commissions, right? You have the expense of moving. That could be thousands of dollars. And then you have the expense of, again, paying closing costs on the next place if you choose to buy another home. Think long and hard about that before you put the for sale sign in front of your house. Trust me. Don't be making rash decisions and saying, say you want to sell your house because you can't handle the repairs. Give yourself some time, especially if you just bought your house like within the last year. Give yourself several years, live in the house, think about the changes you would want to make. They don't have to be made overnight and done immediately. You can take your time. It can take years. It took us years to make changes to this home. Believe me, it's not worth the stress and the added expense to go put your house on the market right now. It's not. So again, think long and hard about that. So speaking of that, making upgrades to your home after you move in, there's a lot of regrets that people have about certain upgrades that they made to their home. And this video, you got to watch it because you're going to learn about those upgrades that people regretted. And I hope you find that one valuable. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.